Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we are discussing an iconic model launched in 2018 as you see it here. This is the Girard-Perregaux Laureato Chronograph. The Laureato's been around since 1975. It was one of the original tonneau case, faceted bezel, integrated bracelet sports watches, and it predated the Vacheron 222, the Jumbo Ingenieur at IWC, and the Patek Nautilus. This watch, of course, takes the modern Laureato shape and integrates it with a rubber strap, just as integrated as if it were on a bracelet. It's a little bit sportier in this configuration. It's 42 millimeters in diameter in rose gold. It measures 12.3 millimeters thick. If we just measure the case lug to lug, then the watch measures 50.6 millimeters. If we measure the end links, the total distance across the wrist is a beefier 52.2 millimeters. And the watch has a lot of heft to it because of the presence of a solid gold case back rather than a lightweight sapphire. Throwing it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it fits quite nicely. The first thing you'll note is that it is fairly flat. Being only 12.3 millimeters thick with a stepped case flank, it will slide underneath the cuff. That said, it is broad, and I wouldn't wear it on a wrist much smaller than mine. I think you need a wrist of 15 to 16 centimeters circumference to wear this. Any smaller, and those end links in particular, are going to project notably beyond your wrist. But it is flat and will fit underneath the cuff. The strap is a high-grade piece. As I mentioned earlier, it is designed to look as integrated as the Laureato bracelet. As a result, you can see some elements, such as the thickness, almost perfectly match the lug when viewed in profile, and then the taper matches the taper of the lug hoods all the way down. It's navy blue, it's a matte finish, it has a little bit of a fluting on the profile to add some definition. You can see it is fixed to the case using screws and bars, which I love to see because that's a very secure method of holding an expensive watch together. It's got more security than a spring bar. You can also see that the clasp is held to the strap using a screw and a bar, so everything's consistent. We have a double folding clasp that actually has two sets of triggers, so it's going to stay shut. You're going to press all four of them to deploy the clasp completely. It's nicely made, fully polished internally, and you can see it has a GP logo externally with a satination on the outer face of the buckle, so there's a little bit of a contrast built in there. Very attractive, a nice piece that gives you the guarantee of security on the wrist. The end link is polished. The case is mostly satin finish. We have a bevel that runs end to end. You can see that polished bevel on each side. The outer face of the bezel, as well as the plinth on which it sits, are polished. You can see that the crown and the chronograph pushers, as well as their screw-down shoulders, are polished. And then the outer face of the crown is the same shape as the bezel, as there are two iconic forms in Girard-Perregaux design. One is the bezel of the Laureato, which you can see twice on this watch, and then the other is the shape of the golden bridge. And if you look to the counterweight of the seconds hand, that's actually part of the shape of a golden bridge. Now, the top of the bezel features a circular satination, and all of this is very true to the original. If you go back to the original Girard-Perregaux Laureato 4266 in 1975, it used their own quartz movement, which at the time was a big deal. But the part of that watch that endures is the design, whereas today almost all of the Laureatos available recently have been mechanical. And on the dial, we have a blue pyramide, hobnail, or Clous de Paris. We also have a concentric pattern on each of the sub-registers. We have lovely blued applique hour indices and blued hands to match. Turn the light out, there's plenty of luminescence. We have here a crown, which is a screw down, and with the combination of the screw down crown and pushers and the 50-meter water resistance, this is a surface swimmable watch. So you're good to swim, just don't take it diving. Appreciate that there's a lot of nuance to this dial, including the depth of the sub-registers, as well as the fact that the font used for numerals on the blue date disc, the same as the font used for numerals on the dial, and I love to see that. I also love the fact that the date disc is the same color as the dial. There's a nice pop of color contrast with the rose gold GP up at 12 o'clock. The watch features a vertical clutch chronograph module, so when you start the chrono, it doesn't jump or have any extraneous movement the way a lateral clutch would. It is a modular complication, though, so you can see that the module is on top of the base movement because the centers of the pushers are actually slightly above the center line of the crown. Flip it all over. There's not a lot to see, but I can tell you what's inside. It is the Girard-Perregaux 03300. So it's their automatic winding 26 millimeter base that is a unidirectional winder cylinder with a 46-hour power reserve. It has a quick set date. It has stop seconds. With the module, it has 63 joules combined. It beats away at 8 beats per second. That 46-hour power reserve, of course, is diminished a little bit if you run the chronograph full time. But the 3300 is a well-established, thin, high horology tractor movement that's been used on everything from GP up to Vacheron, where it actually did business as a chronometer certified engine in the original overseas. So this is a real high horology movement. Don't undersell it just because it is a modular chronograph construction. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Girard-Perregaux Laureato Chronograph.